You don't have any enemies. No one has any enemies. There's no one who it's okay to hurt. This quote was said by Thors to his son Thorfinn in episode 2 of Vinland Saga, before everything went down with Askeladd. Thorfinn was still young and impressionable, an ignorant kid who fought with his friends in pretend battle, and who even fought dirty once his feelings got in the way of his thoughts. Of course, this continues with him throughout the course of the anime, but I digress. We can't really blame Thorfinn for having this kind of mindset, though. For a kid growing up in 1013 AD England, it's the belief that one must die fighting in battle. After all, this is the only way one can get into Valhalla. Violence, and the use of it sometimes, for no other reason than violence's sake alone, is a common theme we see many times throughout the anime. Askeladd's men pillage and steal from villages for their benefit, yes, but it's mentioned before that there doesn't even have to be a reason behind their actions. They kill simply because it's fun, because it's all they know to do. After all, what else would they be doing? They were raised in a violent world where every man has to think for himself, though surprisingly, not a lot of people do exactly that. Thorfinn gets thrust into the thick of it right off the bat. When Thors gets killed by Askeladd, oh yeah, spoilers by the way if you didn't know that, Thorfinn hides away on the boat Askeladd takes from them and vows that he will avenge his father. His bottomless anger is seen coursing through his eyes, and regardless of his father's words, he joins Askeladd's team and takes up his dagger. At that moment, nothing else mattered to him other than avenging his father and doing whatever he must to be able to do just that, even if it meant becoming Askeladd's right-hand man to accomplish such a task. Thorfinn's father may have told him that he has no enemies, yet Thorfinn couldn't look past what Askeladd has done and makes an enemy of him nonetheless. Thorfinn was a slave to his past and pride, unable to let go and drop his dagger, until the very end that is, in sake of pursuing what it truly means to be a warrior. I mean, isn't that selfish though? In order to avenge his father, Thorfinn leaves behind everything he knew to be true before, deeply worrying not only his mother and his sister, but his entire village as well. Thor certainly doesn't want to be avenged, and all his family wants is for him to come back home and live peacefully with them. Thorfinn is not trying to kill Askeladd because someone else asked him to. He's doing it because he wants to. Surely this is an act of selfishness. But it can be argued that every person we see in Vinland Saga is selfish too. They take and take and take, sometimes without physically doing so, and never truly think twice about it. Canute said it himself. There is no meaning in the battles they fight, and no one knows exactly what it means to be a warrior. No one knows what love is, and if no one has any such guidance in life, then they all live blindly forcing their hand, unable to see the future ahead of them. Humans are innately selfish, and I feel like it should be mentioned that Vinland Saga, as gory of an anime as it is, brings up the aspect of religion and how it relates to the topic. They say humans are selfish because Adam and Eve betrayed God for their desires. The two were thrown out of heaven, quite literally, and had lost the ability to reach the stage of divine perfection they were once before. If humanity can and never will be able to reach perfection, then why do they spend all their lives fighting to attain it? With this logic, surely it's better to be selfish and give in to one's desires. But in Vinland Saga, this isn't the case. I've mentioned a few times now the idea of what it means to become a warrior. Thors chooses a path of passivity. His days harming others were over once he realized that a warrior's power isn't measured by strength, but by compassion. Refusing to kill even when it seems like there's no other option, even when the desire to commit such an act is unimaginably overwhelming. It is through compassion that one starts to foster change. It is through compassion that one becomes a warrior. But in the words of Canute, why is there no love in the hearts of men? Basically, every Viking we see across the span of Vinland Saga is cruel and selfish, and yes, this includes Thorfinn. Not only does he blindly follow his revenge against the wishes of others, but he sticks with Askeladd long enough to witness himself become the one thing he hated most. Everyone in the story is the furthest thing away from what love is and what it means to be a warrior. A person can never achieve perfection, true, but that fact alone doesn't make it okay to blindly follow your desires either. Lately, I've been having a hard time finding my place in the world. I'm a sophomore in college, and even though I know this is a time of self-discovery, I feel as if I'm stuck between two hard places. I'm an old soul, so I don't quite fit in with everyone around me, and I'm still young, so I don't really belong with the quote-unquote older generation either. The world to me just seems so disgusting. Everyone out for themselves, and everyone's just willing to put others down to gain a slight advantage over them. The violence continues to this day, whether it's overseas, domestic, or in the classroom. And people are just so incredibly vicious to one another. Yet, as much as I detest the things I see, and trust me, there's a lot, I can't bring myself to hate the world I live in. There are too many beautiful things out there to disregard it completely, and as much as I crave to lash out or blame others for what's happening to me or other people, I know that I absolutely cannot do such a thing. It's never okay to hurt others, and no one, no matter the circumstances, has enemies. Everyone's a slave to something, whether it be money, revenge, or desire for love and affection. As Askeladd pokes fun at, the guy who is a slave to money holds a whip and pretends to be the master of the slave he bought with his money. I think a lot of people fail to consider the fact that everyone around them is going through something. I mean, I'm not Miss Empathetic Queen by any means, but I find it difficult to believe that a person can be cruel just for the sake of being cruel. There's always some underlying reason, and you just have to look closer, or maybe not look closer, but try to understand the circumstances that the person may be going through. This really hit me after Thorfinn converses with the same slave girl I described above. I remember how she had asked Thorfinn if he was a slave too, and after Thorfinn answers that he would kill to secure his freedom, she replies that she could never do such a thing. She recognizes that even though Thorfinn has the freedom she very much so desires, he also is a slave to something she isn't aware of, his anger and his revenge. They are the same in the metaphorical and literal sense, the only difference being the chains that keep her bound to the man who bought her. This, to me, is what's most impactful in Vinland Saga. It's learning to love, learning to foster such compassion for every human being that truly matters. Thors takes care of a runaway slave because he was freezing to death and desperately needed help. He ignored his family's pleas to let the man die, even though he knew that if he got caught, they'd all be in big trouble. All life is precious, and it takes a real warrior, man or woman, to defy the odds and show compassion even if it puts you at a disadvantage. So, I know this video has been a little wordy, but I really do hope you were able to find some value in it nonetheless. There are so many things I could talk about in Vinland Saga. Knut's resolve, the priest's idea of love and discrimination, and Askeladd's philosophy are just a few things that come to mind. Maybe sometime soon I'll dig into all those topics, but as of right now, nothing is really set in stone. But yeah, if you liked the video, feel free to subscribe for more content like this. I recently came out with a No Game No Life video, which is done in a similar fashion as this one. I also do other fun videos such as convention and husbando videos, so feel free to check those out and stick around if you want. But yeah, anyways, I'll end it here. This has been Kitsune Katie, and I'll see you in the next one.